Hello and welcome, friends, to the Spooky Chris podcast. My name is Chris Ringler, your aforementioned Spooky Chris, and I come to you on Devil's Night, October 30th, 2025. Devil's Night is kind of a regional thing. Sometimes Mischief Night, or it goes by other names. In the Midwest, we've always called it Devil's Night. But I thought I'd do a little very, very short podcast for Halloween. I don't really have a Halloween story this year, which is a bummer, but I had been working on other projects and just other things and just haven't had the time. I started work on a new book that, again, I haven't really found the time to focus on a whole lot. But my hope is that that'll be the next book out the gate, maybe. Maybe we'll see. But I still wanted to kind of do something for Halloween. Halloween has always meant a ton to me. It's always been an important holiday. It's weird because as you get older, it changes. It's very important as kids, and it's much like Christmas. It focuses on the presents and for Christmas and everything, and for Halloween, it's the focus on candy and treats and all that. But I think even at that age, as kids, you still kind of the feeling of Halloween in October and the change in the season. It's kind of like it stirs the blood. Kids get to be a little rambunctious and crazy and go out at night, and you're getting candy. You get to be a little. You get to be a little mischievous. Like, there's definitely a fine line between mischief and vandalism and all that. It was funny. I remember trying my hand with my friends once at trying to be more traditional. Like, I think we smashed a couple pumpkins and we took a couple rolls of paper towel or paper towel, toilet paper to throw, and it just wasn't my vibe. Wasn't my thing. I didn't like it. I've never really liked that. Luckily, in all of our years having houses and everything, we've never dealt with vandals, which is great. It's like I say, it's a fine line. Halloween is supposed to be that fine line, though. We get so caught up in a religious aspect of it, and there is absolutely, with Samhain and Wiccanism and stuff and paganism and everything, there are definitely religious aspects to it. But much like Christmas has been kind of co-opted by a whole lot of folks, so is Halloween. And you can kind of celebrate it in your own way, but there's so much hand-wringing. It makes me laugh. All of the churches that refuse to acknowledge Halloween, but are like, we're going to have a fall festival or trunk or treat. And I having a kiddo, I do like all the trunk or treat options. But I also think that we as a society have really lost our way, because trick or treating is important. Now, in saying that, there's, if people can't, there's a cost involved. Like, you are buying food to give away, you are buying candy to give away, so that's expensive. It's real expensive, especially nowadays. I wish there was something you could the tradition is you don't put your light on. But I've seen so many kids that will still go to houses. Like, I don't know if their parents they're either not with their parents or their parents aren't explaining that. And it doesn't help that there are once in a while families who don't turn a light on but hand out candy. But that's kind of always been what we always understood as kids is, if there's not a light on, then they're not participating, and that's the breaks. But I wish there was a sign or something you could put out and say, hey, we're just not doing it. But unfortunately, I think even that, like, you'd get kids that will knock the sign down, or you're going to get people that are going to use it as their stance to, this is a godly home. We do not recognize it. It's just one of those things, like, just let the kids have fun. Let them have fun. It's a time of mischief. It's a time to kind of you know, scare the devil, kind of, and, shake hands with the boogeyman. And, in a couple days, it's all gone, and we're already moved on, and we're focusing on Christmas, and, instead of Thanksgiving, and because that's how we are. It's like presents, bye, bye, bye. It's like, well, but no, man, Thanksgiving's pretty cool because you can kind of hang out with your family and friends and blah, blah. No, 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 Christmas. But Halloween was always important to me. My mom made, helped me get myself made up, or she made me a pretty rad costume. I had, when I grew up, we had the kind of plasticky costumes that were just weird and crazy. Vinyl, I guess, it would be the best I could guess. And I remember wearing those with the plastic masks. And then as I got older, I enjoyed kind of doing my own makeup and figuring out a costume and stuff. I never got into going to parties, but I like that that's an option for adults. I always thought it'd be neat if adults could kind of find a way to go trick-or-treating, like amongst themselves or something. I think that'd be pretty fun, like amongst friends. But it really, like, taking my kiddo around to like where we live, they did a big like downtown trick-or-treaty thing, and that was really great. And I love like the celebration of the horror. Like, it's a great time. It's the one time a year, like, really, that, and it is a season. It is a big season, but where horror kind of gets a spotlight, and so many like classic movies get brought back out, or little scene films. Like, it's a great time to celebrate horror, like, in all forms. Like, I love listening to spooky music and old radio shows and horror soundtracks and all that stuff. And then people bring out their scary books, and it's great. Much like, once we get into the holiday season, you bring out all of that music and all of those movies, and your mind turns more to family fare. But it's neat. It's neat to, like, all of these kids to spark their imagination and get them to imagine, other things, and slowly maybe try out makeup and do other things. And what I was getting to is, like, I think it's important for the community because it gets us out and seeing one another and speaking to one another. And especially in a time like this where we just hate so much of one another, and as a nation hate ourselves, it's important to remember that, like, we all live here. We all like that's, and I'm not going to get political in this, but, like, it's so easy to point your finger and say them, and wish harm on someone and whatever bad thing you can think of, because you don't know them. But once they are your neighbor, your friend, your family, suddenly you don't wish ill on them, and and it's sad. It's sad that that's how we are, but it does make sense. It's something. It's an animal thing. It's a way to keep our us and our species and our tribe safe. But it's good, and it's good for families to spend that time together and take your kids out. And then when they're old enough for them to venture out and to kind of explore the neighborhood together, and just to kind of do that, it's all important. Like, we have, as a nation, stopped being neighbors. We have, and I am certainly victim of that myself. Where I don't get out in the neighborhood a whole lot or do any of that stuff, and it's kind of shameful. But these kind of things get us out, and we see one another, and we celebrate together. Like, that's why Halloween is so important. It's because it's about a piece of candy. So it's very simple, and again, it's a cost, but, like, we're seeing one another. We're celebrating one another. Like, oh my gosh, that's the cutest outfit. Like, people talk to the kids. Like, it's like when people see other people's animals and dogs and stuff, and they, like, oh, hi, what a sweet dog. It opens us up in a way, because, seeing everybody's kids dressed up cute or scary or whatever, it allows us to open a door to speak to one another and to kind of interact. And even if you're never going to be close, but you can at least, it gives you a chance to let your guard down. And interact. And it's so important. Like, as a species, we need this. And Halloween's a great opportunity for this, to have your neighbors and stuff come to your house, and just a brief interaction, and you kind of see who's around. And, like, as a kid, I've talked about my Halloween memories on here before. And I have so many, just us trick or treating, and I remember, the funniest one I ever. Well, there's two funny ones, but it was my last my. I trick or treated, I think, until probably about 16, and then when I was 17, it was my senior year in high school. My friends and I went to a haunted house, and we took. We had there that year. There were three foreign exchange students that joined our class, and I became friends with one of them, and she came with us, and we went to the haunted house, and then afterwards they had kind of a presentation. Like it was really funny. It was like a presentation, like, oh, along the lines of, this is a vampire, and this is his body, these are his eyes, these are his guts, this is a brain, that kind of thing. You see variations of that all the time. Well, this young woman got up, and she walked over and looked in the little coffin. She's like, those are not brains. Those are grapes. Like she like called out what it was. It's like, no. They got her out of there because she didn't understand. It was, she was from Brazil, and it was just a tradition they didn't do. And then they kind of like low key kicked her out, and I was like, and they brought her back because I think they figured out pretty quickly that she just wasn't getting what it is. And again, that's one of the wonderful things about Halloween is it lets us say, what if? What if there are monsters? What if there are ghosts? What if? It's great. It's great because it's great for the imagination. And it's great for some of these holiday traditions mean so much to us culturally and individually. But we always put that on like Christmas. But we do have Easter traditions, Thanksgiving traditions, Halloween traditions, whether it's watching scary movies with your family, going out trick-or-treating, going to haunted houses, whatever you do, those traditions matter and they mean something. And by celebrating them and honoring them, we're keeping them alive and keeping, these are all parts of our culture. Much like back in the day, they would tell stories by the fire and kind of talk about memories. Like, I don't have memories from my parents for Halloween. Like, that was something they didn't talk about, but I have a feeling they didn't celebrate it as much. My parents were, my parents had me and my sister really, older, much like, me having my kiddo an older age. So they didn't really celebrate it, I'm going to guess, a whole lot, not like I did. So it's, it's different, but it's cool to have this to share with her now. And I'm glad. And it's these memories mean something. These kind of, all of this stuff means something. And it means something, personally and like familially and culturally. And it's great to see it's still kind of in its own little way. Halloween is growing. It's like an infection, like a weed. And it just refuses to give up the ghost. And that's great. Even in these dark times, we need to be able to look the idea of death and mortality and monsters in the face and see what they are and see what it looks like. And sometimes, man, we have enough human monsters right now. It's nice to imagine like you're being chased by a zombie or a werewolf or a ghost or demon or whatever instead of someone in a uniform. And that's about that. Like, I really hope, however you celebrate Halloween, that you have a great time, and that you create your own tradition and your own memory, and you can pass this down. Whether you are spending that time alone watching a scary movie, going out with friends, taking your kids out, whatever you do, however you do it, like, just try to have some of that fun that in that sense of wonder that you had as a kid, because that's an important thing to keep us sane. It's a serious time, and it's the biggest lie they tell us as kids is that adults, are different, and we're not. We're just kids with more responsibilities. We're all still immature and do dumb stuff and say dumb stuff and are acting as if we know what the heck we're doing, and most of the time we don't. And the people that refuse to like acknowledge that they're still kind of kiddos in some sense are the ones that are usually the the people to watch out for in the world, because they're the ones that are going to be in bad news. Friend, have a great and happy Halloween. Stay safe and have fun, and find your frights. You can find me at spookychris.com, all my podcasts, all my interviews, my reviews, and everything else. I have a whole library of books you can go through if you're looking for a good shiver. And you can find me on Amazon. I will talk to you soon, my friends. Take care and happy Halloween.